Hello, good evening, good morning, good afternoon, whenever you're watching. I hope you're okay. It's Patriotic Christian here. The country. Wow, it is in a mess. It is in an absolute mess. And we need leadership. We need answers. We need unity, courage, bravery. And at a time when we are in despair, confused, divided, it is hard to find all those things, little things, courage, bravery, which we don't tend to think about that much in life, but they are important. They are what make us who we are as individuals. Courage and bravery. We need a leader, someone who has that. Keir Starmer clearly isn't one of those. And we've done protests. We've done petitions. In fact, the last one for digital ID is in its millions now. Nearly, was it 3 million? Possibly more, I don't know. Last time I checked, it was in 2.5 or something like that. They're not listening. They don't want to hear from the great British people, the indigenous people, the majority of this island. They can see which way this country is headed. They're looking at the projections of the future and they're thinking we are going to pick those over these. And when I say those, we're talking about minorities. We're talking about those that are coming here by their droves. Illegal, undocumented, unvetted, fighting-aged men. There are a couple of women. 5% of those that come here are women and children. Yet 95% are men, and 87% of those men are between the ages of 16 and 25. Fighting age. Which is ideal if you want to build an army for something, isn't it? Put that in line with the context that we've got 3 mass fatality contracts signed, mortuary sites purchased, and agreements made with Poland and God knows where else for events that have never ever occurred in this country, yet seem to be apparently taking place. And also the testing of the emergency alerts on our mobile phones, the lockdown drills being practiced in schools. It has got everyone on edge and everyone concerned. I can see that. Now, how do we go about it? Well, I believe that standing outside of a hotel waving the British flag was the answer, but now I don't. The migrant hotel protests, they're not the be-all and end-all of all our problems as Britons. The main problem we have is this British government, the Labour government, the Tories even. They are both sides of the same ass cheek, if you like, or however that saying is said. Both sides of the same ass. Or 2 different sides of whatever it is, I don't know. Anyway, they are the same. That's why they're called the uni pie. And is reform the answer? I don't know. I don't know. What I do know is that we can't wait until 2029 to find out. Already there has been too much bloodshed. Our girls, our women are being under attack like no other, to the point we have even got men and women now making videos, literally campaigning for younger women and girls to carry deep heat spray in their handbags. That's how bad it's got here. And do you know why we're here in the first place? And this is one thing I want you all to take in consideration. Weakness. Cowardice. Men today are not men. I can admit that. And we need to stop pointing fingers. Because we as British people now have become so weak in everything that we do. There is strength within us. And I fully, trust me, when I get into that, you'll realise it is in our DNA. We are strong. And that's why we're suffering, because we're confused. We are confused. We don't know what to do. We don't know where to go. This isn't us. This isn't how we're supposed to live. Now, men have been told not to be men. They've been taught not to be men. They've been told to be they, thems, or identify as cats or dogs. Masculinity has been trampled on. And now even femininity is being attacked. Why? We got men going in women's bathrooms. So women's rights are being thrown out the window. You give an inch, they take a mile. And what I mean by that is, if we look back to the 90s or the late 80s when people were saying, why is it such a big thing that people can't be gay, for instance? So everyone made it publicly and socially acceptable that homosexuality is fine. I've got no problems with homosexuals. I don't care what you do, who you are, what you want to identify as. That is your life. You are entitled to do what you want. I have my own beliefs, my own opinions, but that's nothing to do with you. And I have nothing against you. What I do have problems with is when you force people to accept things that they don't want to accept. Force upon children certain doctrines, certain education that is just wrong. In one classroom, they're being taught you can be you're a biological male, you are a biological female in science. And in the next classroom, they're being taught that Mike can be Polly or Sally, and Sally can be Steve. So the children are confused. They're also being taught that all the leaders of the past, Churchill, likes of heroes that have stood tall with our country and led us through some very serious battles and campaigns that have given us the freedom of who we are today. They're now pointing and labelling these people as racists, as far-right bigots, as this, that and the other. Our history is being rewritten. Every movie that you watch, documentary that you watch now, has actors that are completely different or portrayed differently than what they actually really were. Now, when I'm talking about masculinity, I don't want to say the people like Andrew Tate are the option, because they are not. But masculinity needs to come back. We need strong, conservative, God-fearing men that are brave. And at the moment, we've got men that refuse to go to work because they've got anxiety, or refuse to walk the dog in the rain because they might get wet. We've got men who are more scared of spiders than they are of God. We've got women that care more about how much filler is in their lips than they do about the food in the bellies of their children. They would rather buy McDonald's for their children or Domino's than cook a healthy home-cooked meal. We need to go back to the nuclear family. We need men and women to make sensible decisions, not just go out and sleep with whoever you want. That woman becomes pregnant, and then the man doesn't have anything to do with the kids, doesn't pay anything towards it, and the system, relying on the system. We have become too dependent on our government that the money out of our tax goes on welfare. And we have made this government, we have made this welfare system ourselves become that virtuous, that giving, that luxurious, that we have invited people from the third world to come and take advantage of it. Now, it's all well and good for us to point fingers and blame so-and-so. It was my parents' fault for not raising me, for being strict or disciplined enough. It was my teacher's fault for not teaching me history properly. It's Keir Starmer's fault. It's Labour's fault. It's that person's fault. It's not. The problem starts within. It starts with us. We can make change. However, we must make it ourselves. We must admit, as men, we have failed. Over the past 2-3 decades, we have failed to do what we should have done. Even my parents' generation, they should have brought us up the way our great-grandparents were brought up. Because those 15-year-olds who volunteered to sacrifice their lives for their country, for their people, for people that they would never even meet, like us now, to give us our freedoms. For them to do that shows that they were more brave, more courageous, more disciplined than what we are now. So the problem starts within. And I see all the time, I see parents blame things when their children misbehaves, stomps their feet, has a tantrum, ADHD, because it is that easy to go to a clinic, get a GP to diagnose them with ADHD because they're ignorant, they don't want to listen to anyone, and they've got their own agenda that they want to do because you've simply just not disciplined them correctly. Now, I'm not saying that all children don't have ADHD or ADHD don't exist, because I do know ADHD does exist. But what I am saying is there are a lot of people that use such labels, and including mental health. I mean, there is a saying, mental health off the shelf. It's just used simply as that. Oh, do you know what? I'll ring work today. I can't go in. Why? Mental health. Mental health today is a big thing. We see a lot of people talk about it, campaign about it. And yes, it's one of the biggest killers in men. Because men do need to open up more, of course. And I'm not saying that a masculine man doesn't cry or a masculine man doesn't or shouldn't open up. Of course he should. To his family, to his GP, what have you. But we need to stop playing the victim. And we need to stop blaming everyone else. Because if we, right now, if you and me, if we can change and decide to change this very moment, from now on, I will walk the dog, regardless, whether it's raining or not. I'm going to go to work, whether I feel a bit edgy after a night out on the piss. I'm going to make sure I cook my children a nice home-cooked meal instead of buying a McDonald's because it's easier. I'm not going to get lip filler. I'm going to actually try and find a decent man, regardless of what my friends think, and be with him. And I'm going to stand behind him, his dreams, his goals, his ambitions. And I'm going to praise him. I'm going to keep his belly full and his balls empty. And I'm going to make sure that he fulfills everything that he wants to do as a man. Because then he will then give you everything that you want. A family, a wedding, a house. We need to go back to that nuclear family. We need to go back to real men and women. And at the moment we're seeing teenagers in schools at the age of 15. And I have heard people talk about this. I have sat and watched podcasts of young girls planning in the last year of school, not where they're going to college or where they're going to work or start an apprenticeship, but how they're going to hand themselves in homeless at the council, have a baby with their boyfriend that they're hopefully one day hoping that they're going to get down on one knee and get married, only to find out that their boyfriend will only end up cheating on them, end up riding a push bike for the rest of his life, living at his mum's or his nan's house in one of their spare bedrooms, never pay tax, never go to work, probably sell £10 cannabis bags and picks farts out of his arseholes whilst he's playing on the Xbox or PlayStation all day. This is who we've become. And with the lack of discipline, this whole, you can't tell your children off, go and sit on the naughty step, go and do this. It's a load of, honestly, I'm not saying, again, don't take this the wrong way. I'm not saying beat your child to an inch of its life. I am saying discipline. You make sure that you are in charge. You make sure that your children have respect for authority, have respect for adults. They have respect for the police, the government. They have respect for everyone. That they put their neighbour first instead of them. And we have grown up, my generation more specifically, being self-serving rather than loving thy neighbour. We need to love others, put others first. We need to be more Christ-like. We need to, that's what we are missing. That missing link that has been gone for generations is Christianity. But if you want to live an atheist lifestyle, you must adopt these principles still anyway. Because this is who we are as Britain. This is what Britain was built on. These Judeo-Christian principles and values. Now, I understand not everyone wants to be religious. Some people have their own opinions and their own beliefs about religion. That's absolutely fine. Some people belong to different religions. Again, that is absolutely fine. What I'm saying is, as a society, we once had the very same principles, the very same values. And I'm not saying everything was absolutely perfect, but what I will tell you, it was 1,000% better than what it is today. And we long, all the time, we hear people talk about nostalgia. We want Britain back. We want Britain to be the way it used to be. Britain doesn't resemble anything like it used to. We hear these words all the time, and we're longing to go back to the period. But how far back do we have to go? Well, I'm saying we need to go back as far as our great-great-grandparents. We need to find out how they lived, how they were taught, how they grew up, what was acceptable to them. Because around us, we live in a digital age where instead of giving a child a book, we're giving children tablets, phones, mobile devices, because it's easier to let them be quiet than teach them how to read. We're letting our teenagers listen to rap, drill, grime, hip-hop, whatever you want to call it. And don't get me wrong, I am as equally as bad and as to blame as anyone else is for this. This is why I'm speaking up. We have to be honest. If we want change, we need to be honest with ourselves. This is our fault. The reason why the country is in the mess today is because of us. It's because of our parents. It's because of our grandparents. Because we haven't stayed in the same direction as we should have. But it's not too late. We can make changes today. You, me, we can make changes. And we have to look within. We have to start looking at what masculinity truly is. We need to pick leaders, people to follow, because at the moment, we hardly have any. I know who I admire. Winston Churchill. Absolutely love the man. And I look at him for inspiration. What a character. That individual is a perfect example and role model for people to follow. If you are a young man right now and you are watching or listening to this, Winston Churchill is probably one of the best leaders or best men or idols that you could follow. As well as the likes of Christ, of course. But I'm speaking, and I know those on my YouTube channel who are Christian will be saying, we need to be more Christ-like. Of course, that goes without saying. But we must remember also that there are people that are not God, that have done great for this country, that are great representations of how we must be as humans, because we are not like Christ. We will never be like Christ. We can try our best, and that's what we should do as Christians. However, those who do not believe in Christ need a leader. And sadly, our nation has turned its back on God, turned its back on Christianity. And I long for that to come back. And I was an atheist. I was a hardcore atheist. And as a Christian now, I see the desire. I see why people years ago were stood preaching the gospel, because they knew that these days were coming. It's not too late. We need to change ourselves. We can't keep blaming Keir Starmer and the Labour government. We have to change it from bottom up. So we start within ourselves. We got to start accepting what's right and what's wrong. If you're parents, start looking into how you can be better parents. Did you know as well? I did a bit of research on this before I was going to start talking. Do you know one of the most Googled things is today? This is absolutely nuts. I couldn't believe this. This come up as one of these strange fact things that I go through on my page. One of the most Googled, let's say, in the search bar, what people ask advice on is, how can I be a man? or how to be a man, we're lost. If we've got men at a mass rate asking a search engine on how to be a man, we are in deep trouble. And if you want to know how to be a man, simply look down your trousers and you'll see that you're a man. How you act? Well, pick a leader. Pick someone to follow. Someone that we have made statues of. No one that is living today. Because let me tell you, today's people, corrupt. We are long gone. We need to go back. We need to look at historical figures, how they acted, how they were brought up, how they brought up their children, how they lived, what they did for society, what they called for, how they fought through tyranny, and that is how we all need to act. That is how we need to approach this problem. Because it is people like us that raise children that then sit in power. So who are we then? If we are lazy and we don't do anything and we let our children do whatever they want and believe in whatever they want to, not know what their schools are teaching them, to find out later down the line when you've got a completely delusional government or political party sitting in power of the very country that you grew up in, that resembles nothing of what you grew up with. That is when you regret things. And this is what we're seeing now. We are seeing people say, "Ooh, this country is in deep shit. Who's to blame?" And I've heard people go as far back as blaming, listen, people will blame anyone and everything, whether it's to do with society, the economy, leaders, situations, incidents, whatever. They will blame anything and everything. We got to stop doing that. We got to blame ourselves. When this is what Christ said about picking up your own cross. We must always take things on ourselves. Do you know when you bump into someone? I see people nowadays, when they bump into someone, they start on one another and they start fighting. A little bump into someone can turn into a murder in today's society. Whereas years ago, if you bumped into someone, excuse me, my bad. My bad, I'm so sorry. We need to be more polite. We need to be more kind. But we also need to be more stoic. We need to be more mindful, more courageous, brave, more articulate. Men, we need to read more. I'm telling you now, we don't read enough. I'm guilty of this. We need to start reading more, start listening to the right music, watching more things about our past, our history, who we are, our heritage. Get deep into it, guys. It might be boring at first, but do it. Because you know what I'm saying is right. It makes sense. And women too. Now, I'm not being misogynistic when I say, and I'm not trying to say, I don't want to say that. How do I word this? Right, let me tell you something. Women don't belong in the kitchen. They don't belong at home. They belong where they wish to belong. And I get that, right? However, I totally, 100% believe that women are the backbone of men. They are what hold up their husbands. Us men, we need our women. And we crave our women to be there for us. We crave for them to listen. We crave for them to always be positive. To always try and remind us of our purpose. To let us know that what we are doing is good. That's what we crave, is recognition. As men, and we do. I'm being as a man myself, I am telling you, as an honest man, what I crave, especially as a family man, is for my partner to recognise, my children to recognise what I do for them. Because that tells me, when they admire it and they say to me, or I hear my partner talk about me in a positive manner to her friends or her mother or to anyone, and I hear her say, he's done this, I love him so much, he's done so well with this, it gives me pride. It makes me proud. And it reassures me that what I am doing is right. And then it also encourages me to go another step further. And it's like a chain reaction. The more you praise your man, the more you help him, the more you encourage him, the more he will do, the more he'll bring back. We need to stop bickering over little things. The bitterness between people nowadays also in society is it's just wrong. We need to start putting our differences aside. And if you've got a grudge against someone today, drop it. Because we need to start afresh. And it starts within. I'm telling you. And whether you... And I also plead to those who are non-Christian. Please, look into the life of Christ. Look into the Bible. Go on YouTube. Use YouTube to your advantage for once. And I absolutely discourage people from watching or listening to anything that is going to poison your minds or the minds of your children. We need to be more vigilant as well about what our children are being taught, what they're being educated. Because this is another big thing. We have literally got children in schools that are communicating with their teachers through making dog noises and cat noises because they identify as cats, dogs, the moon, a microwave. I'm not joking. This is a very serious matter. These types of children one day are going to be sat in power, sat in positions of leading this country. That person now who identifies as a cat or a dog or the moon, in 20 or 30 years' time, may be holding a syringe into someone's arm, maybe holding a scalpel in a surgery, maybe sat as a prime minister. You've got to take this in consideration. We may laugh at certain things and scenarios that are taking place across the country, and they say Britain has gone mad, bonking mad. Katie Hopkins calls it bonkers, batshit crazy, batshit crazy bonkers Britain. It has. But that's because of us. It's because of all of us. And it's up to us to change that. Now, where do we go from here? Well, like I said earlier, we've done the protests. We've done petitions. We have literally got a government that refuses to listen to its people. Now, I've also heard, and I want to touch on this, people throw about the term or the phrase civil war. Let me tell you something about civil war. While it is nice and very easy to talk so fluently about such a situation for you, please think about the serious repercussions that would have. Not only would you be digging your own grave when you're talking about such subjects, you'll be digging the graves of many others. And I mean many. It is not a subject to be taken lightly. Civil war would be the biggest stain in the history of Britain. I mean it. You really need to sit and reflect for at least an hour on what that would look like. We're talking how it would affect the elderly, the most vulnerable, our children, women. We're talking the amount of bloodshed, the butchering, the fact that no place in this country would be safe for anyone. So when you next want to toy around with ideas, please refrain from talking about such tragedy, because this is something we all must avoid at every single cost. Now, I understand the frustrations of those that talk about this, and some have said, like Elon Musk, that it's inevitable. And they say this because their understanding is the same as ours, is that our government is simply not listening. They do not want to do what the British public wants. So what do we do? Well, there are options, but that is not one of them. Civil unrest is not one. That would make things worse. That would, in fact, would play into the hands of what this government actually wants to take place. So do not think that is the answer, or ever will be, because in fact it is the opposite. You would be doing this country an injustice if you went out to try and start that, or even toyed around with that idea. Now, of course, it goes without saying as well, we cannot wait until 2029 to find out whether reform has what it takes to sort this country out, and whether that will be reform at the time or not, because we don't know the future. So we must act. Now, the best solution I have seen so far is that of Richard Donaldson, the Great British National Protest, or now it is called on Facebook the Great British National Strike. His idea of an opt-out, a 1 week opt-out, a 5 working day opt-out would seriously hit news headlines, would seriously do damage, would seriously make a dent. A massive impact, and I mean huge. This would hurt them and hit them at the heart, right in the economy, everywhere. And if we only need, there is what they call the 3% rule. 2.4 million people. If 2.4 million people took part in this event, which starts in February, please go and have a look. Check out his page on Facebook, on X, on YouTube. Richard Donaldson, the Great British National Strike. Look it up and you'll see the event information on there, and more about it, and details about it on there. But I'll give you what I know. I've spoken with Rich, lovely guy, genuine, down to earth, knows what he's talking about. This is getting a lot of discussion. A lot of people are getting involved. And the best thing about this is if you're worried about your boss, we've got plenty of time ahead for you now to book time off of work, to book a week off for school, for a holiday. You can come up, you've got from now until that date to come up with any excuses you could possibly think of if you are willing or wishing to take part in this mass opt-out. Now, whether you do or not is up to you. I know for myself, I'm going to. I'm going to stand with Richard in this idea. And I know many are. But the difference is this going to be hundreds of thousands, or is this going to be millions? And that depends on you also. We, again, fail in society to share the most important things that we should. Why? Because we fear what our friends will think. We fear what our family may say. We fear what our employers may do. We've gone past that now. You need to share what you possibly can, because we know where this country is headed. The time now is ticking. We have had enough. The British people are sick to death. And like I said, we must avoid civil unrest because we'll be playing into the government's hands. So we have got enough time from now to enjoy Christmas, to prepare, to plan, to share with every person we know about this opt-out. And if for just 5 working days you do no shopping, no work, no school, nothing, stay at home, just literally chill out, watch movies, do whatever you wish, go to the beach, go out in your cars. But whatever you do, do not spend a single penny. Do not go to work. Do not let your children go to school. They're ill, you're on holiday, family problem. Come up with whatever excuse you possibly want if you wish to take part in this. Now, I'm not telling you to take part in this. What I am saying is this is an option other than what other people are talking about, which is civil unrest. So it's up to you. It is down to you as individuals to do what is right. Whether you want to be real men and real women. Whether you want to unite, stand together and make change. Whether you want to change the way we are as individuals. Because we can't keep going round. We can't keep living life today as we are. And even if we did have change with the best government that you could possibly dream of or think of, we would still face problems in society today. We've still got kids that think it's okay to go around stabbing one another. We have these gangs, gang culture, that we must get rid of. We must teach these children, these teenagers, the youth, these so-called men even, that it's not okay to behave in such manner. We must be more disciplined. And we must ask as well, within the justice sector, we look into prisons. When we discipline people, we need it to mean punishment. Yet we see in prisons, people having access to televisions, radios, DVD players, PlayStations, budgies. Is this punishment? These are people who commit the most heinous and evil crimes in the world. And let me tell you something. I'm an ex-con myself. Prison is easy. Too easy. It is not a punishment. And I'll tell you, as an ex-prisoner, it is no way tough enough to change or shape a person. The only thing that changed me was Christ. Yes, Christ found me in prison. I say he found me and I didn't find him for a reason. He found me in prison at my lowest point. But it wasn't prison that shaped me. It was Christ. It was the Holy Spirit. Prison's no good for anyone. And it shouldn't be. The only thing it should be is a deterrent. A mass deterrent. Yet it's flooded. Why? Because people don't care. People are not worried about going to jail no more. Because it's like a haven holiday camp. It truly is. So we need a change. Mass changes in everything that we do as society. But like I said, we can't expect or keep relying on our government to do everything for us. We must change ourselves. We must change as individuals. The change starts within. Not over there, not with that person, not with these people. Us, me, you, we. So that's my message for you today, guys. Take it how you want it. But I'm being deadly serious. Change starts when you want it to. And I'm saying, let's change. Let's change today. Not tomorrow, but today. In fact, let's change right now. Thank you.